Guys, thanks for joining us on another episode of Always Making. We are joined by another talented artist from the greater Salt Lake area. We're going to have another awesome conversation. Before we do, you know what we like to do first. Like, comment, subscribe. We're going to get into that conversation right away, but before we do, we got some housekeeping to do. If you guys haven't seen the announcement on our Instagram yet, we are starting a Patreon.
Whoop, whoop.
You guys can join that Patreon and help support the podcast very easily. We are doing a $10 membership fee for a monthly sticker club membership. 2 stickers, $10. We mail them out to you. It's pretty awesome. You can check out all the details with the link below. And then the other thing we've got going on right now, we are joining our friend Acadia with her new startup storefront location. It's 111 Threads in the Sugar House area. We are going to be in her storefront. It's open now. It's opened up January 31st, so it's open. And we're going to be there for the month of February and March as of right now.
Yeah, so you can go shop us in store along with a lot of really cool other talented artists and makers. There's going to be a ton of cool stuff in this store, so go check it out.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool so far that with the startup and everything with that. But that is housekeeping. Let's get into the conversation. We are joined by Tiia from Dark Witch Cottage. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
We appreciate you reaching out to us. We've had very interesting crossing of paths.
Yeah.
We've done some shows together, but we've not really had the opportunity to really like have booths next to each other or have really conversations outside of like, hey, that's about it.
Yeah.
So we do appreciate you reaching out and saying, hey, can I come and have a conversation with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
We like to get started here with the first opening question about how it all got started for you.
Oh gosh. So as far as Dark Witch Cottage, that started about 5 years ago after a very long break from doing markets. I did them probably, 15 years ago, something like that. I was into them. And then I was just not having a good time with it for lots of various reasons, so I took a long break. I actually swore off of them for a long time. And then my friend Erica, who owns and runs Bleached and Bewitched, she's another maker and performing artist. That's kind of how we met each other. We're both performers.
We're very familiar with her.
Yeah, so she was doing her very, very first like pop-up market that she was going to do at the Beehive, and she just, hey, like, will you come have a booth at my space? And at that point it was just to do tarot reads, because that's one of the things that I do in the performing side of things. And I'm like, because I love her, I love you because I love her. I was like, okay, I'll do it. And it ended up being a really overall great experience. I'm like, okay, I'm not mad at this. Like, we can do this again. But I ended up getting busy, so I wasn't able to do any more for that particular year. But then she invited me back again for her next one for February. And that one timed out, so it ended up landing on my birthday. So I was like, okay, well, I kind of feel obligated now. But that was also kind of the thing that got me into branching out from beyond the tarot reads and doing like getting back into physical products. I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to do just tarot because that is great and I love doing that. But I also know that that tends to be a little bit time consuming because you have some people who will take up an hour of my time. And that's very difficult if you're doing a market to have someone occupy you for an entire hour. So I'm like, I need to have something else to help offset that. So it was kind of like, all right, well, I'd had the idea of starting a Bath and Body Products because I actually have a really severe allergy to coconut, and it's such a ubiquitous ingredient in Bath and Body Products.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm kind of sick of having to read labels 800 times, to find something that I'm not going to have an awful reaction to. So that kind of kicked off, okay, well, I'm going to start doing this. And then it just kind of snowballed into being a little bit of a hodgepodge of like all the little things. Like one of the reasons why I call it cottage is so that way any cottage industry can kind of fit into the little, branding there. So that's been kind of like the pathway for that, I guess we could say.
So among Bath and Body Products and tarot reading, what else do you do?
So underneath Dark Witch Cottage, I also do some fashion stuff. So I do crochet and hand knit shawls, capes, scarves, what have you. I'm actually looking at getting into like secondhand stuff because I have such a very specific aesthetic for like my lifestyle, my decoration, my all that kind of stuff. And a recurring theme at markets is I get more comments on my wardrobe or how my booth is decorated than on anything else that I'm doing. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should turn this into something. Maybe I can put my lens onto things and like kind of do a little bit of like shopping for people kind of thing. Yeah. And then I also do some polymer clay stuff. I do little pendants that I hand make that are super cute and they're little.
Yeah, because you also do the miniature stuff.
I do miniatures. Yes. I'm so excited about that. That's kind of been like, again, that was one of those things that I picked up a billion years ago and then I put it down for whatever reason. And then I kind of got the bug again. And luckily, I have a very understanding husband who just kind of is very hands off about what I do. And the have you seen that meme? Creativity is messy, and I'm very creative. And I'm like, he's a saint. He's an absolute saint. But yeah, he kind of just like, okay, go do it. And he doesn't think I'm weird for this either, because you'd be surprised how many times people hear miniatures and they go, that's weird. And I'm like, no, really, it's not.
Nah.
I mean,
you won't get that from us.
Yeah. I think most artists don't think that's weird at all.
No, but it's surprising how many people think it's weird, especially because like I make teeny tiny little ghosts and they're the cutest thing ever. I love all of them. But a lot of people, especially if you are into like the more spooky side of things, and I am definitely a goth kid at heart. I'm like I was the mall goth in the 90s and 2000s.
We've had our artist Rochelle on.
Mm-hmm.
She does ghosts, miniature ghosts as well, and then she makes the little dioramas as well.
Mm-hmm.
And she's it's so awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That was a funny thing because I was bouncing between like, I need something else to do. I don't know if you guys understand what that is. I need something else to do.
Yeah. I mean, this is like behind the camera. Yeah, we get it.
Yeah.
We're not into 10,000 hobbies.
Yeah, I was very much so in that point. Like I was like, my performing career is great, fantastic. It's, everything about that is going in the correct direction. But I realized I had not done a whole lot under my own, like, creativity, because when you're a performer, you're often operating under someone else's guidance, and like you're creating under their choreography, or you're getting, like in my case, I'll get a prompt for like what I'm supposed to wear for wardrobe, what I'm supposed to, what the expectations are, which is great because then I'm not necessarily having to like super actively think about what I need to do, right? But as someone who is creative, I need to have my own outlets that are truly mine and my own creations, right? And so yeah, that was kind of I can do miniatures because I don't have the biggest house, so I can get back into miniatures. And then, yeah, that was a kind of a weird thing of like, I started looking at dollhouses, but then I found D&D miniatures. And I don't know why this somehow like became a novel thing that, they do miniatures in D&D. And then my brain like put together scale and size and whatever. And anyway, I have really cool dioramas coming out later that involve D&D stuff.
Ooh, we look forward to seeing those.
Yeah. You hinted there a little bit about the entertainment side of things, because we haven't even talked about that side of it, because we haven't even asked the question, because like that's another thing you do as well, which we like going through your Instagram, we actually saw one of your performances and didn't even realize you were in the performance that we were seeing. You also are a fire entertainer, and you also do other entertaining as well. So let's get into that other aspect of your art that you do as well.
Yeah. So my performing arts career in its current iteration started about 8-9 years ago, somewhere around that. There's kind of a funny joke that pertains specifically to my life here. So like, have you seen that TikTok sound? So like, if I had $1 for every time this thing happened, I wouldn't have a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice, kind of thing. I've had 2 separate instances where I had a corporate job or a desk job, was let go from that job, and ended up dancing for money. like I would have $2, but it's still weird that it's happened twice in my life. So yeah, that was what happened. As I had a corporate job, a desk job, and then I was let go from that job. And my friend, who was just back from New Zealand, just had somehow landed themselves into the burlesque community here in Salt Lake City. And because they knew my previous background, which was as an adult entertainer, in nightclubs. They're kind of like, I think you'd be, you got some skills, you can translate right into this. And I'm like, and I was out of work and I'm like, okay, in my logic in this, again, I had the exact same train of thought both times. Like, I'll do this until I find another job. And then, 7 years later, 8 years later, oh, I'm still doing this. Which is not a complaint. I love my job. Don't get me wrong. You never misunderstand it. But I also understand that I'm an active participant in my own destruction when it comes to this, because it's 18-hour days sometimes, so it's like, whew, that's a lot. But yeah, so yes, I am a licensed and insured fire performer for the state of Utah. I also travel all over the state. I also have potential out-of-state gigs coming up where I'm actually going to be doing various forms of like fortune telling. I do mermaiding. I dress up like a pirate. We've got fire shows coming up. Basically, I go and do whatever the gig tells me to do. So yeah, I do produce some of my own shows. I actually just wrapped up a D&D themed burlesque show literally last Wednesday, a week ago, which we sold out for, which was yay.
That's awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, and so I produce my own shows, but I also am very much so at the mercy of 4 different production companies in the state. So they kind of like say, hey, we need to do this, and I say, okay.
So I want to go back a little bit, because I always like getting into where it all started. But when you got started with this, when you were younger, how did you know you were going to get into the arts? Like what was that thing that led to, hey, I'm gonna find a path into this art, into this art career direction?
Honestly, I didn't. I was absolutely convinced that and this is like, I don't think I've ever actually told anybody this. In my high school years, I absolutely was convinced I was going to be a military lawyer.
Yeah.
Absolutely convinced that I was going to be a JAG.
This is way the other
way
direction.
the other direction. This is as far the other direction as you can probably go. But yeah, I was absolutely convinced for the longest time that I was going to end up a military lawyer, because I come from a military family. My dad was in the Air Force. My grandfather was a Marine during Korea. That's kind of what I knew. I spent most of my time around that. And then in high school, I was actually simultaneously, and I'm still not entirely sure how I did this, but I was both in my high school ROTC program, so the junior ROTC program, and I was on my high school dance company. I was running both of these tracks at the same time, which is a lot.
How do you have time for that?
I honestly, I don't know. I look back on it and I'm like, that was kind of a lot for a teenager. But I was absolutely convinced that I was not going to make performing or the arts my career. I figured it was always going to be a hobby. It's going to a thing I did on the side. And then life happened. I ended up not joining the military for lots of very complicated reasons. And then I kind of keep falling into the arts. Like, it's always kind of been the fail-safe. So, like, going back to my initial joke, it's like, it happened to me twice. So I had a desk job, and then I was let go from said desk job, and I was just kind of like throwing, feelers out. Did anybody have openings for a job and everything like that? And I had a friend who was working as a bartender at a strip club in Ogden, and she said, hey, I don't know if we're hiring for cocktails, but you can come in and talk to the manager. I said, cool. I can be a cocktail waitress. And she said, like, we're actually not hiring for cocktails, but we're always hiring for dancers. And so I had a lot of things to think about with that, because it was not necessarily like, I think almost everybody I knew have had the jokes that they were going to pay for college by being a stripper, right? I think that's a really common joke. Mm-hmm. And I had made that joke, but I never took it seriously because it was a joke. But then I was actually the option was actually placed in front of me, and I was like, well, we'll do this long enough to make my car payment, and we'll see what happens afterwards. 7 years later,
the car was paid off.
I went through a lot. Honestly, like, I credit that 7 years of my life for a lot of how I came out of it, because I actually had to learn a lot about business through that time. You would be surprised how much you have to learn about how to manage your money, how to understand branding, how to understand how to have customer relations, how to navigate places that may be a little bit more tricky, policy wise or politics wise or anything like that. So I I often credit, like, I have a friend who, his name is Chance. He used to actually be the creative director at Evermore when I worked there. And he had a phrase where he used to say, fail fast, fail faster. And because you have to learn quick.
Yeah.
And that's one of those situations where you were very much so thrown to the wolves. You have to learn on the fly. And it took me about a good solid 2 years to figure out what my footing was. But once I figured out what exactly I needed to do to make my money, to do well, based on my own metrics of success, like, you should always have your own metrics for success, like, don't compare. But it taught me so much about myself as a person, but it also taught me a lot about business, and I credit that time frame with so much. But at some point, yeah, it got to a point where, like, there was too many management changes, and I wasn't liking the way things were going with the new management and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I think it's time for me to be done. So I got out of it, found a bunch of different jobs. I ended up a receptionist at a pole and aerial studio. Which, you would figure, like, my track record, it should not be surprising that I ended up doing this for a career, but here we are, still surprised. But I very much so am a go with the flow kind of person. I'm very much so like, well, I guess we're doing this now. And I just follow whatever doors end up opening to me, but I always end up having it in my head that, I'm going to do this until I find a real job. And then I realized that, oh, wait, this is my real job. So...
Like, definition of real job, though,
Yeah.
right? It's still, that is the thing. Like, I was just listening to a podcast with, of all people, the host of Blue's Clues. He's got this.
Oh,
Steve.
Is Steve? Yeah.
Steve, yeah.
His podcast right now is really good. But he was just with porn star, like, talking with. She was on Boys Meet not Boys Meet World. Is it Boys Meet? Anyways, she was a TV celebrity turned porn star, but she was talking about how, like, perception of, like, it is a real job.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing is a real job in that kind of sense. But it is that whole perception of, like, these are jobs, these are careers, these are things. And it is that, like, you are in a position to be a real job, and, like, no matter how it is, sometimes there's a lot of work in that whole thing. And that whole thing where you are saying, like, hey, you, like, it's no different where we as artists, like, we are putting ourselves out there. We have to figure out our business. We have to figure out our finances. We have to figure out how to create the stuff we're doing. Like, those are all real job things. Like that is to, like, discredit what we have learned as artists on our own. Like, that's a real job. Like that. And that's sometimes the stuff that, like, people are like, oh, you're just drawing. You're just like, no, this is a real job. Like, and that's sometimes the tough part that sometimes people like, oh, you get it so easy. It's like, no. This is a real job. Like, I leave my work sometimes because I have another 9 to 5 kind of thing that I work. And I come here and it's like, oh no, last night I was working till 11 o'clock at night. Like, I'm working 2 jobs. This is not like Christy's sewing stuff, like, on top of, like, dealing with a kid, and on top she's got 2 jobs. Like, it's not it's a real job kind of thing. So, like, don't discredit what you're doing. It's a real job.
It's a real job. Yeah. No, I definitely get caught in that loop of, like, especially when that comparison trap is always going to be there. People who, because I had someone openly discredit, like, I had gone back to Evermore to visit after they had reopened again, and that's a whole other can of worms. But we won't get into that. But one of the people who used to be a regular, what they would call a world walker, one of the regular guests of it, had been kind of, like, I guess, paying attention to my social media posts, and he's asked me what I was up to besides just dancing around and having fun. Like, immediately discredited the entire thing. And I'm like, do you realize I'm busting 18-hour days, multiple in a month, because of this job? I'm like, just because it doesn't look like your 9 to 5 does not mean that what I'm doing is somehow less valid.
Yeah.
Also said by a person who was a performer at a theme park, quote unquote. Like, whoa, bro, watch the judgment.
But even then, there's some of them that also carry that same mentality that this is just for fun. And, like, I am someone who very much so believes, like, you get what you work for.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that I deal with. Because again, in the 900 things that I do to make my living. I'm actually the booking manager for the Weekend Entertainment at Prohibition, Utah in Murray. So it's a speakeasy.
Yeah.
So it's a fully immersive speakeasy. You walk through a bookcase, you get sat down, and we have burlesque shows every Friday and Saturday night. And one of the things I bump up against a lot for people who, depend, and it varies from their experience level, but they want to have the same like perks of being someone who is like a top tier entertainer, but they don't actually want to put the work in to be a top tier entertainer. And I'm like, you realize I don't just sit here and twiddle my thumbs all day, right?
Yeah.
I'm actively constantly training and cross training. I'm constantly working on my skills, adding new skills, adding to my costumes. I'm doing a lot of work that that you're not seeing, because sometimes it's what you're not being watched, is that it tells you more about that person's work ethic.
Yeah, this was the discussion we've had on a few episodes where it's like, I can't put all the things I do on a resume. Like, I don't know how to explain being a maker to people that aren't seeing all the different things I do, and trying to explain like just what we do in a week of being makers, like, and trying to explain all the different crafts, all the different skills, all the different stuff. It's impossible, because there's so much we do as creatives that you just don't, like, you can't share that with everybody.
No.
Yeah.
And so like a lot of times it's the stuff that goes on behind the scenes that is like make or break. You know, it's like, are you clocking in the hours, like. And also, like in my case, because I am pulling double duty, well, technically triple duty, because I still got kids at home.
Quadruple duty sometimes, yeah, right?
Because like in like a normal week, like on a scheduling week, like if I'm doing the schedule for pro, like I have to do the schedule for pro, and then I also have, if I've got a show that weekend, I've got to do all the packing and prepping and rehearsal for that. And then I also have shows in between for market stuff. So I'm making my product. I'm having to label it all, organize it so it fits in the little totes that I've got. And, you guys are not seeing how many hats I'm trying to bounce through in the course of a week, on top of the fact that I have 2 kids that are still at home. And one of them is, he is special needs. He's autistic to a degree that he will probably never live independently of me and my husband, and which is fine. That's just a thing that happened, but that adds another layer of my life is not so straightforward, and I'm constantly bouncing through those hats in a course of a week, and I'm like, I wonder what you would do with my workload.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
It's like live in my shoes for a day, right? It's like, that's the thing. Like, we all talk about it. It's like sometimes walking on a mile in my shoes, right? And trying to understand. And it's like we don't want to judge people like what it is. And like we want to have an open conversation. That's the whole point of having the podcast, and exploring everybody that comes on, and like expressing the passions that we do and why we do what we do, because we really love being creative. We really love what we do, but it's not always easy.
No.
That's the thing that like we try to share, because if people out there are listening, and the like key thing to take away from what we're doing is it's going to be work. We love what we do. I don't want to give any of this up whatsoever. But I also like, I get up in the morning, I'm thinking creatively. I go to bed sometimes late, because I've been working the whole time, all day long. And it's like, I don't stop.
Yeah.
And that's the mentality sometimes you have to have, is like, okay, I'm going to come downstairs and I'm going to work on stuff. And it's like, oh man, like I would love to sit and watch Netflix like for 4 hours and everything. But you know what? I kind of can't. I got friends that are like, hey, did you watch that latest episode? I'm like, I haven't watched TV in 3 weeks, man. Like,
it takes us months to finish like a season of a show, like months and months and months.
And I was like, that's super cool. It's like, people are like, hey, did you play that video game? I'm like, dude, I haven't played video games in a long time. Like, I think the last video game I played was PlayStation 3, dude. And it's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, dude, I love them. I just don't have time.
Yeah.
Like that. It's like, I have other things I want to play, kind of thing. Like, and it's like, I want to play with like paper. It's like, you're boring. I'm like, no, dude, it's really cool.
It's
Have you felt this texture on this paper?
We made it ourselves. Look at the speckles.
But I want to get back into like your creative stuff. I want to get into your world and everything with it, because like we went on a tangent here for sure, and that's
gonna happen.
But I love it. I really do love it and everything. But your whole creative side and everything with you're doing, let's talk about what you're making, because what is the thing right now that's big for you? Is it the miniatures you're really diving into, or is it the bath and body stuff that's really big? I saw on your Instagram the latest thing you just did was a cape.
Yeah, I just
But
finished a cape. Yeah.
What is the big thing in your maker world right now for you?
Right now it's the miniatures because I'm actually planning out a I don't know if I should frame it like a collection or a series, but I'm gonna do a grouping of them that I'm actually hoping to submit to some art festivals to put on display.
Awesome.
Like it'll be like a story, like, and I've had a couple different ideas for like collections or series or like a theme that I want to work within. So that way, I'm gonna put them all together. There's gonna be like I've just bought a set of like 6 things, the cloches, so that way they can actually be contained in there, and they light up. So I'm gonna be playing with that. But yeah, I'm gonna. I'm so easily amused. Like you show me it lights up, and I'm like, oh, maybe it's the fact that I had a glowworm as a kid.
One of the little rainbow ones.
Yes.
Oh, those are so fun.
But yeah, so I have this idea for like a continuing series. Like I want to potentially explore like not necessarily immediately, but I have ideas of potentially like exploring like the major arcana for the tarot deck, but also like the hero's journey as we see in stories. Like I also have this idea for like going back to the whole fact that I'm a nerd and love D&D. Want to do like miniatures set in like D&D worlds, like little things, like actually have my little ghosts like go into like D&D worlds. So I have these ideas for like things that I want to expand on, and I've been like very slowly accumulating the bits and pieces that I need to make those happen, because I'm basically starting from scratch when it comes to the miniature thing, because I was out of it for so long. Like I have enough craft supplies hoarded that I can make stuff work, but there's still the aspect of like, oh, I need this specific thing to get the specific effect that I want. But yeah, the miniatures are probably the biggest thing, because I would like to grow that into something that I can get, like, I don't know, maybe it sounds egotistical or whatever, but like I would like recognition for that. I would like to have it go somewhere besides just being the cute things that sit on people's shelves. Like
I don't think that's egotistical at all. I think that's a goal that like is great thing to like reach for sure.
Yeah, so that's kind of the whole thing, is like because I see so many other people who, when you start deep diving, because I'm pretty sure we all love a good rabbit hole at this table.
Yes.
So there's a lot of YouTubers that I follow, and they make such elevated pieces, and I watch people who both do like regular like dollhouse miniatures, but also people who do like the more D&D terrain miniatures and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I always see how like you guys could learn so much from each other as far as like skills and like how to do things and how to manufacture stuff. And I feel like I can fit in that little bubble in between the two of them. It's like I do stuff that like most people would probably consider a little bit more dollhouse-y, but I also lean so heavily from D&D because I am so inspired by the worlds that have been built out in that. And like I love the idea that you can create your own story. And that's kind of the reason why like so like when I started with the ghosts, it started out very surface level. It was like, oh, it's a cute little thing, and I love ghosts, I love spooky things, I love skulls, I love cryptids, I love all that stuff, right? So I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna make cute little ghosts. And then the more that I dive into it, the more that I make them, and the more that I kind of develop a relationship to it, I realized that the ghosts are a perfect like blank slate. Anybody can be a ghost. It's like the ultimate universal experience. We will all be ghosts at some point. And so I'm like, that's the thing that like anybody can kind of see themselves in. And so like if I create these little fantasy worlds, then anybody can see themselves in that little fantasy world, and they can put their own story and attach it to it, whatever they might need to project emotionally or whatever onto it. Like that can be a vessel for them, and kind of like, I don't know, maybe that's a little too altruistic or
No, I love it. We're following right along. We're in it.
As soon as you said it, my brain went back to, we have a campaign for D&D and we have the miniatures. It's Dungeons and Doggos, and they're all miniature doggos that are all like little
there's like different breeds for each, like like the rogue and the different.
I was trying to think of the term for them, but they have them and they're all designed that way. So my brain went right to like, oh, you can have a ghost rogue, you can have a ghost druid, you can have a ghost bard, and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, so when you said it, I'm like, oh, you can have a whole set of miniatures of every single class and everything with it. So I'm like, oh, there was, look, when you said, I'm like, oh, there's no reason that you couldn't reach that goal. That's so easy and everything to go that direction for sure.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
And I love watching the like not stop motion, then like time lapse videos of people making dioramas on YouTube. Like, who doesn't? They're so satisfying.
Oh, they're super satisfying. And I always like, I am very much so like, I kind of learned by osmosis too. So I like having those playing while I'm working on stuff. So that way I can also get inspired by it while I'm doing like, oh, that's a cool way that you did that. I'm going to like in the Rolodex for later, you know? So I very much so like that's kind of like my version of parallel play. It's like, I'm going to have the people who are making stuff on YouTube make stuff while I make stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. Love it. Do it. Also.
I am guilty of like, I think the thing we watch the most is YouTube because like we don't really watch like shows as much as we watch YouTube because we watch other people to learn. Like that's like YouTube University is our favorite thing to watch, and like that is the thing. We watch so much like educational stuff on YouTube more than we watch actual TV kind of thing nowadays. And it's great,
and not even just like tutorials, but even just like other artists just sharing their stuff that they're working on. Like it's just
it's
like you said, it's like
so
kind of parallel play. It's like, oh cool, look at that cool thing they made. Like now I'm inspired, or that gives me an idea for something that I'm working on, or it 100%.
So on top of the miniature stuff, the fire thing is something I want to get into because like you are I didn't even realize you could be a certified fire person. Like what
there's a certification for this?
Yeah, like what?
So that is, every state has its own laws around what considers, fire performers. For Utah specifically, they're pretty strict about it because we are a desert. We are, I think I saw today that we're in like our 25th year of drought or something like that, or something wild like that. So they're pretty strict about it. So for Utah, you actually have to go get a safety class. You have to go take a safety class. And then you have to go get it tested. You have to pass a test. And then, well, I should say you have to go take a safety class. Then you have to get 5 what they call AARs. So that's your after action report. So that means you have to either safety or handle fire 5 times under supervision by the trainer. They have to sign off on the AR. You have to collect 5 of those, and then you have to go take a test. And then after that, you are licensed, and then you have to renew your license every year, and then you have to retest every 5 years.
Oh, wow.
So that is extensive.
It's extensive, but it's necessary. Like Utah has, like, I don't think we're like the strictest, but we're up there as far as, those kind of things. Because like you are not even allowed to perform fire for the public without a permit. And that they have a pretty big definition for what public performance means. So that could mean anything that's open access, like Busker Fest, which is completely free to the public, but if you have a fire performer there, you have to have a permit pulled. If you're going to do a ticketed event, if there people are going to be paying money, then you have to pull a permit. Or even if it's going to be included, like at the Ren fairs, it's like included when you buy your fare, you still have to pull a permit. So we have to pull a permit to perform publicly every single time, and then you have to have all of your performers must be licensed and insured as well. And our insurance is so expensive for a year.
I mean, for fire, I can imagine.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how strict they are with the performance like aspect of it, but like the firework like regulation here is so like lax and everything.
I honestly think it's because it's the same Second Amendment warriors. I think
it tracks. It makes sense.
It does.
Like we have like 4th of July, we have January 1st, we have like Pioneer Day, and you can get the craziest explosives, and I'm like, what is going on?
Some of that is new. Bottle rockets, like the aerials, used to be illegal up until like
most recent.
That's like within the last 15 or so years did that become legal. But also I find that crazy because we live in a desert.
I know. It's like you guys know there's forest fires happening like right over here, and like people are blowing stuff up. I'm like what is going on here?
Like one of the biggest forest fires came because of a gender reveal. Like you burnt down the entire forest. Because you did something you weren't supposed to do in a forest.
Yeah, I was like, oh man.
Don't even get me started.
Like it is really like cool that the regulation and safety for human like dancers and everything, like for your safety, it is kind of nice to know that is a thing, and like they're just not letting anybody willy-nilly spin fires around and everything like that. But it is crazy. But like I guess, why did you want to like start like
how when
why that's a great question, and I don't know if I have a solid answer to you, because initially when I started when I started, no, that's all, yeah, when I started 8-9 years ago, I didn't have a goal to do that. That wasn't a thing that I was setting up to do. I very much so was like, maybe not, because I'm very much so like, I'm very much so a girl. I don't like being dirty. I don't like, I don't like bugs. I don't like being outside. I'm very much so like, I don't like, roughing it for me is like a 3-star hotel. Like that is my joke, right? But I became friends with Emily and Paris. So they are the best fire performers in the entire state. I am convinced of it. They are also one of the state certified trainers. They're the pair of them. And as I became friends with them, and and I think all of it has to do with their background because both of them are engineers. Emily is a civil engineer, and then Paris is a electrical engineer. And so they're very good at explaining things to you, and they're very good at explaining why it's not a risk, why it's not, like, obviously we still want to have a healthy respect for flames, right? But if you understand what you're doing and how to do it, it becomes less scary. And so at some point, I think I was watching them perform and I'm like, you know what? I could do that. And I very much so have that kind of, once my brain clicks into, I could do that, then I do it. Like, it's like, I figure out how to get where I want to go.
Yeah.
I'm very much so like, I did this, like the very first time I ever did a pole trick, I literally watched someone else do it. And like, I understood the mechanics of it. And as once I understood the mechanics, I'm like, oh, I can do that. And then I did it. And I was surprised myself when I did it. Successfully executed. But the point is, like, my brain finally went click and went, oh, I know exactly how that works. I can do that. And that just seems to be the pattern for me. Like, as soon as I understand the mechanics of a thing, I immediately go, oh, I can do that. But I need to understand the mechanics. And so, like, with the fire, if you don't understand the mechanics of it, it can be really intimidating. And if you don't necessarily understand why the fire tools work the way that they do, or what the fuels are being used. Like, a lot of people look, like, Paris is a fire breather. So he is expelling fire, breathing it. He actually did it. So not this past year at Mill Creek, but the year before, he was breathing fire from the top of the sway pole.
Okay.
In a full-on costume. He was dressed like the Yeti. It was the coolest thing. But when you and that is like a really scary thing to look at, as someone breathing fire. But when you actually understand the mechanics of it, like, especially down to fuel type and why he does the things that he does, and why, like, they have to move certain ways, so they're paying attention to why. Because, like, when you watch a show, because I safety for him a lot when he's fire breathing, you'll see that he is clocking the wind, so that way he's not hurting himself or others. Like, they're constantly very vigilant about it. So when you understand the mechanics, like, for me, it was like, oh, I understand how this works. This is cool. I can do this. And the same thing with, like, the first time I ate fire, it's scary when you think about, like, you're literally putting flames into your face. But then as soon as you understand the science behind why it works, you're like, oh, it's not scary at all. Like, I'm very much so a science and mechanics. If I understand those things, then I'm immediately, oh, I can do that. And then I don't think twice about it. And then I just do it.
I feel like we've heard that a few times, not that specifically, but, like, I feel like there's a little bit of, maybe, I don't want to use the word arrogance, but I feel like a lot of artists have that kind of mentality of, like, yeah, I could do that. But at the same time, like, we're very dual creatures, right? Because we're also like, oh, but we have to be vulnerable and put ourselves out there. And, I think we've heard that before also. Like, yeah, I just kind of thought I could do it, and I did it, and that was it. Like,
yeah. Well, I had someone explain that confidence is simply knowing that no matter what happens, you'll be okay. That's, like, the root of confidence, right? And so I have gone through enough stuff in my life to know that it would take a lot for me to just not be okay at the end of it. Like, I say it all the time, like, my entire life could evaporate tomorrow, and I know I will still be okay. It may not necessarily be the life that I want, but I will still be okay, and I will still figure it out. I will still find my way. And when you do that enough times, you just know that, oh, if I do this and it goes horribly, I will still be fine. Adam Savage, failure is always an option.
Yeah.
Failure is always an option. It's not the end it's an option. It's not the end of the world. It's simply an option.
Yeah. I mean, we know how to survive.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
Yeah.
Is like we can like come back from that lowest point and still be able to survive. And we're going to learn from that failure and like be able to come back from it. And like, hey, like, we make mistakes. Like,
yeah,
we're going to learn from those mistakes. Like, we're not, like, me and Chrissy both know we're not afraid to fail. And like, like fail a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like, oops, okay, let's not do that again.
Yeah.
kind of
Well, I mean,
thing.
it's like other maker we like to quote Evan and Caitlin: make, fail, make, fail, make.
And so it is just one of those things. Like, okay, like I imagine you've probably like burnt yourself a couple times.
I got a 3rd-degree burn this past summer.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay, not gonna do that again.
Yeah.
Like that's not a fun feeling.
That
kind of thing.
was yeah.
Yeah.
That like so. That was definitely one of those things. Like the thing that you're probably most scared of will happen.
Yeah.
It will absolutely happen.
Yeah.
But I also know that like burns heal.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it will suck for a little while.
Yeah.
That thing was tender for so long.
Yeah.
Especially like where it was, because it was right here on the back of my arm, and I am so short that I get high centered on my washing machine all the time. So I kept hitting it on the washing machine because I have to reach in because I'm right hand dominant. So like it was tender for a while, but I was like, okay.
But you learned from that mistake.
But I learned from that mistake, and I also was very lucky in the situation that like because it was during a rehearsal. And I was surrounded by people who, as soon as I stepped out, I'm like, oh no, I'm too hot.
Yeah.
And like, I am lucky that I have enough presence of mind that I wasn't like completely panicking.
Yeah.
Because the moment you panic, game over.
Yeah, it
right?
gets worse.
The moment
yeah.
you panic. And so like, as soon as, and I don't know if maybe it's a superpower of mine. Like I'm really good under stress. Like I'm really good under duress. So I was like, okay, I know I'm too hot. I'm not okay. Something happened. Like it was fine. And then the wind shifted just right and it moved the flame into my body.
Yeah.
So
something out of your control.
Yeah. So we extinguished the tools immediately. You know, immediately went to first aid mode, burn cream, cold water, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. And like my eyes watered pretty good for that one.
Yeah.
Like it was not like a full on like cry. It was just my eyes were just watering for like, it felt like forever. It was probably only like 10 minutes, but it felt like forever.
But it was all the proper training. It was all the proper understanding. It was, again, all of the things that you did beforehand. Mm-hmm. So in that proper situation to know, hey, these are the things that are going to do that I need to do to be okay in that situation. Because it's happened for me in the past with certain things that have gone, hey, I've done enough of the pre-game understanding. So when I was in that predicament, I can stay calm. I can be aware of my situation and I can get myself through this. Okay. Yeah. And then when it was all said and done, it's like, this sucked.
Yeah.
But I'm okay.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And so it was the same thing. It sucked. But you got through it and you were okay.
But it's fine. And I still performed.
Yeah.
I did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
We made the couple adjustments that we thought would be best, considering like by the time we performed, I would still be in the healing phase. I wouldn't be completely out of it yet. So we made the adjustments that we needed to make, and it was fine.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's very much like, well, that sucks. It's like, I don't want to do that again. But I'm also someone who's very big on getting back on the horse. So like, I knew, okay, this sucked, and it makes me like it just. But I don't want it to scare me away from the thing because I still love doing this. And like I had people to this day, one of my MCs at Prohibition, when she hosts while I'm doing, because we are allowed to do little bitty fire inside the bar. Actually, we're doing I have a show on February 13th if anybody wants to come. But her favorite thing to say is like the way your face lights up when you perform and you're specifically doing fire. I love watching that. And so, because I don't think about that when I'm performing, but apparently it's all over my face that I absolutely love what I am doing. I love being able to eat fire. I love the looks on people's faces when they have that wow moment, because audiences are very easy to please in that sense. You know, you eat fire or you can hold fire in your hand and they're immediately impressed.
Well, I mean, for most of us, it's not every day you see this happen.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like I get to do it all the time either. So for me, it's always like a treat that I actually get to do it, because Utah is expensive to do fire. Like the permits for Salt Lake proper are like $230, and a lot of the gigs don't want to pay for the permit and pay for us on top of it.
Yeah.
So I don't get to do it a whole lot. Oops. But so when I do get to do it, it's kind of like, oh, I got a treat. It's like a little treat for myself. But yeah, so it's one of those things that like when I hear how other people enjoy watching me, that helps motivation, I guess, in the same way that, you know, when someone buys something that you've made, and they get excited about it, and that makes you excited to do the thing, right? It helps like that full circle moment kind of thing.
absolutely.
So I get the same thing when I'm performing. But yeah, with fire specifically, it's a lot of fun, even though like, yeah, it is dangerous, and I will never say that it's not dangerous.
I mean, we're playing with fire.
We're literally playing with fire, but it's also like it's coming from also a lot of healthy respect from it. Like I understand
100%.
that this is the illusion of control. It is not actual control, but you have like, it's always dangerous when people think that they actually have control over fire. Like, it's a beast unto itself.
Yeah.
So
for sure. We are like coming up on time, but I don't want to miss out on a couple questions still on some of the stuff, because we haven't even got into the market conversation about everything. Like this conversation has gone so quick, and like we've gone into so much stuff about everything you've done, because you've done so much with everything in your creative career so far. But the market world that you have been in and everything, you talked a little bit about it. You did a pass that you did. What did you start off in your market world with?
I was actually doing hand knit. So right after my oldest was born, I kind of got obsessive when it came to knitting and crochet. Went way off the deep end.
Okay.
I drove everybody nuts. So it got to the point where like I was making more than I could possibly ever use, and so it kind of got shifted into, maybe you should sell some of these. And I said, okay, we'll try. So I got into a couple of markets. I also started an Etsy shop, and then I ended up going through a lot of life changes, as one does in their 20s, you know? And I was having a good time with it, and then I suddenly wasn't.
Okay.
And there was a lot of things that, like, part of it was personal stuff, because I was about almost 16 years ago. Wow, that's been a hot minute. Almost 16 years ago, I left my first husband because that was not a healthy relationship. And then I had a bunch of other upheaval going on, and then I had one market that really put a bad taste in my mouth, because the organizers were like, I had sent an inquiry just like, can I get what the booth fee is, and without answering a single question, she just sent me an invoice and expected me to pay in 24 hours. And I'm like, whoa, I was just asking a simple question. I need to know these things, because at that point I was, looking at single motherhood. I was like, I don't have a whole lot of money for this. And then like the entire interaction after that just kept continually, like, she wanted a whole lot of something for nothing, And then like I did the market, and it was the most poorly organized market that I've ever done. There were a lot of the MLMs there, and they were getting most of the foot traffic. Like there was nothing set up that was actually driving people to like the actual handmade makers or anything like that. And then in 2016, I had arguably the worst year of my life. And I kind of shuttered everything. I had an Etsy shop that was actually getting some good tracking. Like I had sent stuff to Germany and France, and a lot of stuff to California and New York. Like I was getting some traction. But yeah, I had the worst year of my life, and I just shuttered everything. And I kind of swore off it, like, we're done. We're not going to do this anymore. And then it wasn't until Erica kind of tapped me on the shoulder. So like, want to come back? And I'm like, I love you. So yes. And then, yeah, that's kind of where it snowballed into where we are now, right?
So then the knitting side of thing, that kind of put the back burner, found the new stuff with because of the coconut allergy kind of thing. Then that was a much better experience. Found a new kind of, I guess the way to put it is, you found a new like
community, maybe
a new community, but also kind of a new like aesthetic kind of thing, and a new feel.
Yeah, that was a big branding thing.
Okay,
so like, I was not that my branding was bad, because it
was different.
It was different. It was very different. Like I guess in a way, like I kind of had a bit of an advantage, because I had some formal education in graphic design and marketing and branding and that kind of stuff. I did attempt to go to college. I did not succeed successfully into college, but I went to college. And so I did understand branding, but I didn't necessarily understand it the way that I understand it now. As far as understanding, I guess, a more mature understanding of branding, and how it is the show don't tell of the story of your business. It's how it's a shorthand for connecting with your potential, customers. And I like, it wasn't bad, but it was very much so parts of it that felt a little disingenuous to who I was. But I was also going through a lot of changes in my personal life and a lot of like personal growth and that kind of stuff. And so when I came back to it, I made a deal with myself. I'm like, if I do this, then I want to make sure that the branding is accurate to who I am, especially and very reflective of who I am now versus who I was 20 years ago. And that I want it to actually be a show don't tell situation. I want it to actually be the shorthand so people can look at my Instagram or look at my booth and immediately understand whether or not they are going to be my potential customer. That was kind of like a really big thing for me. And like, honestly, that's the thing I would love to help small business owners do now, like get into their branding. I'm like, let me teach you, let me help you do the show don't tell for your business. Because a lot of people get really in that habit of telling everybody instead of like actually using visual cues and stuff like that to show the story of their business.
So how recent have you been doing the shows now? That's been what, the past 5 years?
Past 5 years.
Past 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And how many shows, because you did the one show that first year is what you said. And then these past couple of years, how many shows have you been doing a year now? Like,
so that has fluctuated quite a bit because my performing schedule has grown so much. So it went from like I was only doing them probably quarterly for a little while, and then it went up to once a month, and then now it's back down to about quarterly probably is what I'm looking at for this year. I would like to find more like consignment situations so that way I'm not having to actively be there, because that's a tricky part. It's like if I actually have to be there, but then I've also got rehearsal. I cannot be in two places at once. Unfortunately, I do not have that technology.
Yeah, we haven't figured that one out yet either. Yeah,
if only.
It's kind of tough. Yeah. It's one of those tricky situations.
Yeah,
but...
it's super tricky. So that's always that's been the kicker, because a lot of times, because the schedules for those things often come out at weird times, right? So like I maybe have a market that I'm interested in doing because, okay, I understand the branding, the customer base, all of that's going to be perfect for exactly what I've got. And then I'll look at the date and went, oh no, I have rehearsal.
Yeah.
So that always ended up being the hard part. Like it would be nice to find like, I don't know, someone to share a booth with, so that way they can maybe handle some of that workload, and then I can still go to rehearsal and then still check in like either before or after, because usually it's that weird like 2-hour overlap. Like I cannot make that work, and I'm like, I never want to be taking advantage of the organizers because so many of them are so great, right? But it's like, I don't want to have to say every single time, like, can I leave 2 hours early?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, this
understandable.
This conversation could go on for another 2 hours
really
very
could.
easily. This has been so great, but I want to make sure everyone gets an opportunity to go check out what you are doing, whether it's for the miniatures, whether it's for your Bath and Body stuff, your fashion stuff, your live entertainment stuff, any of the things you're doing. Where is the best place? I know you have a few different social handles. If you want to throw them all out, or if there's one best place they can find you, where is the best place they can find more information about what you're doing?
So to keep track of my performance stuff, the live entertainment opportunity, like shows I've got coming up, that would be Tiia Lynn, TIIALIN, all one word. Tiia Lynn. So that's all my entertainment stuff. That's also a way that people can book me as well if you are interested in hiring me to entertain for your party, corporate event, whatever. And then I have the Dark Witch Cottage. Again, all one word. And that is kind of the hodgepodge. So that's the fashion stuff. That's the Bath and Body stuff. That's kind of whatever I feel like making stuff. And then it's Dark Cottage Miniatures, if you would like to follow the minis.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on the conversation. Like I said, this could go on for another 2 hours so easily. It's been great with everything you've been sharing with us. It's been awesome to have you reach out and just have this conversation with us.
Well,
thanks.
thank you so much for having with me. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. Again, guys, that Patreon is live. If you guys want to support, go check it out. The link is down below. If you guys know anyone in the greater Salt Lake or Salt Lake area, please send them our way. We'd love to have a conversation about their passion, about making, creating, all that artist fun stuff that we do here. It'd be great. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you guys on the next episode.
Bye.